Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Gaming History. Today, we're going to be talking about canceled video games. So, here are some games that never made it to the market. Let's begin. The first game we're going to talk about is Silent Hills with an S. This was intended to be the eighth entry in the mainline Silent Hill video game franchise, developed by Konami. That all started back in September of 2012 when they brought along Hideo Kojima to act as the game's director. And over the course of the following 3 years, Silent Hills was being actively developed. Now, 2 years down the line, on August 12th, 2014, a playable teaser called PT or PT4 was released online on the PlayStation Network as a free game to download for the PlayStation 4 to advertise Silent Hills. This game was critically acclaimed and widely loved, as people both in the Silent Hills fandom and not in the Silent Hills fandom both loved it, and even the critics did as well. But it was the following year when information came out about Silent Hills that the game was unfortunately canceled. News of this first reached the people officially on the date of April 26, 2015, at a San Francisco Film Society event, where the assistant director to the game informed attendees at the event that Silent Hills had been canceled. Now, this was confirmed by a tweet on Twitter the following day, on April 27th, 2015, by Norman Reedus. Now, the reason why Silent Hills was canceled was because the director for the game, Hideo Kojima, had a falling out with Konami due to several factors, all caused by Konami. He didn't like them anymore and decided to leave. Though he returned several years later for Death Stranding. But due to him leaving the project, they decided to cancel it. And shortly after the game's cancellation, the game was removed from the store. And even if you had downloaded it, if you happened to just delete it, you wouldn't be able to re-download it. Unlike with normal games, where if you delete it, you can just simply re-download it. But you can't with playable teaser. It just wouldn't let you. And luckily, enough people downloaded the game where it's not lost. The next game we're going to talk about is Earthbound 64, a follow-up to Earthbound 1 and Earthbound 2. Now, Earthbound 64 was originally intended to be released on the Nintendo 64 DD system, disk drive. The Nintendo 64 disk drive was an add-on released for the Nintendo 64, which would have allowed you to use discs instead of cartridges, as one of the main drawbacks of the Nintendo 64 was the usage of cartridges, which had far less game power than its competitors, the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation, in which all use CDs, which allowed for more RAM and data, while using a disk drive allows you to make more powerful games using that, though the spin-off itself only lasted a few years and wasn't that big of a success. Now, it was initially meant for a now, the game was initially meant for a 1999 release, but in the summer of 1998, they decided to make it no longer a Nintendo disk drive game, but a regular Nintendo cartridge game, as they thought that it was taking too long and taking too much resources away from the development of the upcoming GameCube. But ultimately, it was canceled in late 2000, but eventually evolved into Mother 3, or Earthbound 3, as in its home native country of Japan, it is referred to as Mother, but here in America, they're known as Earthbound. Now, the final game we're going to talk about is a game called Treasure Tales. This one's a whole lot less well known, as it only came to light fairly recently in the grand scheme of things. Treasure Tales was a pitched game which would have been released for the Sega Genesis, and would have been a Tales spin-off game starring Tails the Fox, first introduced in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The game was pitched to Sega Technical Institute in February of 1993, with 4 mock-up images being created for the game. The game was intended to be an isometric platformer puzzle adventure game. Now the story of Treasure Tales was brought to light on August 17th, 2020, when a man named Craig Stitt came across an old VHS video resume he had created back in the day. And on this VHS resume were the 4 images created for Treasure Tales. That this VHS tape was later digitized and released online onto Facebook, which is how we got our hands on what remains of Treasure Tales. Now, according to one of the people who used to work there at Sega Technical Institute, and who would have been people that got pitched the idea, they don't remember it at all. They don't remember it. But this is all that exists of Treasure Tales. It never got past, sadly, the initial pitch. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for today. Yeah. Well, I'll see y'all around, alright? Bye. Have a nice time.